Have you ever lost a loved one? How did it feel? And how did your world change? So, I'm going to show you all. Here's a picture of my grandma. My grandma recently passed away in March. When I look at this picture, I see my grandma, but I don't really see my grandma. I see someone different, right? Because my memories of my grandma in this picture, they're not the same. After she died, I noticed that other things were different. My vision changed. My vision was grayer. The world was drearier. So I say all this to say, when you've lost a loved one, how has your world changed? And if you had the choice, would you bring them back? While you think about that, let's look back at Ed and Al to understand why they committed human transmutation. To understand Ed and Al, we have to put ourselves in their shoes. Ed and Al are 5 and 4 years old respectively when their mom dies. This is young. It's an age where your parents are virtually your entire world. And aside from practicing alchemy in your dad's study, you're dependent on them for everything. With this in mind, we can return once again to my good friend Erich Neumann and his book, The Origins and History of Consciousness. If you don't know, the goal of this book is to describe the meaning of the Ouroboros tattoo and show how the symbol can be used to uncover the unfolding of human consciousness across time and different cultures. Neumann says that the Ouroboros, quote, corresponds to an evolutionary stage which can be recollected in the psychic structure of every human being. Additionally, the Ouroboros, quote, appears as the round container that is the maternal womb, end quote. Today, we're going to build off of this and turn towards Neumann's description of the archetypal benevolent mother and her relationship with her son. Quote, all the positive maternal traits are in evidence at this stage. It gives nourishment and pleasure, protects and warms, comforts and forgives. It is the refuge for all suffering, the goal of all desires. For always this mother is she who fulfills, the bestower and helper. The living image of the great and good mother has at all times of distress been the refuge of humanity and ever shall be. End quote. If you need to replay that quote, do it, because all of that is wrapped into who a mother is for her son. Trisha brings warmth in times of cold. She offers forgiveness in times of transgression. She brings safety in times of distress. She is the refuge of humanity and ever shall be. But it goes even deeper than that. As Neumann says, to the child, quote, humanity does not yet exist. There is only divinity. Only the world has being, end quote. When we're young, it's not just that our parents are everything to us. They know everything for us, and they do everything for us. They aren't just our world. To us, they are omniscient, omnipotent, and omnibenevolent. Doesn't that sound an awful lot like, God? And as young children, don't we see our parents that way? So when Trisha Elric dies, Ed and Al don't just lose their mom. For all intents and purposes, they lose their God. And if you lost your God, wouldn't you do everything in your power to bring your God back? And how could you ever blame Ed and Al for trying to bring her back to life? They only had to face the death of God, the 20th century's most perplexing problem. And once their God dies, they have to contend with what that means. Now, we want to be careful when we're calling Trisha God, because obviously they're not worshiping her like a god, but she's acting like a god figure to them in many ways. Their mom gave them knowledge, a warm embrace, protection from the chaos outside, and the list goes on and on and on. And each and every one of those things that Trisha provided to Ed and Al vanish overnight. This is why I brought up my grandma. It's not just that my grandma died. My grandma was someone that I and my whole family could go to for support. When the stock market crashed in 2008, my family moved in with my grandma. Her home served as a place of warmth and refuge in our time of distress. And it wasn't just my immediate family. When anyone in our family needed help, you could go to Baba. She was a 7-digit dial away. So when she died, we didn't just lose our grandma. We lost a warm home. We lost a soothing voice. We lost someone that made us who we are. When Baba died, a part of my soul did too. The same holds true for Ed and Al. So how can I blame them for trying to bring their mom back to life? If I were in their spot, I would too. So maybe that's it. Maybe Ed and Al were in the right. Maybe nature was in the wrong. But does this look right to you? Does this look like something good? We can't stop there because deep in our hearts, we know that something is wrong with human transmutation. And Neumann tells us why. Quote, "Many forms of nostalgia and longing signify no more than a return to Ouroboros incest and self-dissolution. The incest we term Ouroboros is self-surrender and regression." End quote. To put it simply, Ed and Al's desire to bring their mom back to life is a desire to return to that state of unconsciousness, to live in the nostalgia of a simpler time, to live where they didn't have to account or be conscious of certain things because their mom was acting as that barrier for them. And Neumann doesn't even blame us for this, but nonetheless, he calls us to a greater way of being. He says, quote, "The ascent toward consciousness is the unnatural thing in nature. It is the specific of the species man, who on that account has justly styled himself Homo sapiens." End quote. If you saw last week's video on the psychology of identity, you know we began to talk about the importance of walking the hero's path, of trying to understand what that means. Here, Neumann gives us an insight into that path. He says that heroism is, quote, "the ascent toward consciousness." He asks us to not look back, to not return to simpler times, for better or worse, to move forward in the reality that we've been given today. Now, does this mean that we should go off and kill our moms to grow up and be big boys and girls, to finally make all those unconscious things conscious? No, of course not. My mom is still alive today, and we have a beautiful relationship. The real challenge is maturing within that context. Jordan Peterson has a good take on this that I think is worth listening to.
The Freudians said very wisely that the good mother necessarily fails. It means she stops providing the comfort that insulates people against the need for adventure.
Freud said, for example, that no one could be a man unless his father had died. And Jung said, yes, but that death can take place symbolically.
I think we can take some notes from Ed and Al. We have to accept the reality that we're in now and move forward, serving one another in love, just like Trisha Elric would do for her boys. If you loved watching this video, there's a good chance you'll love my last video too, where we discussed the psychology of identity and what it means to be a hero. After watching that, stay tuned for a 5-part series on the in-depth psychology of alchemy, how it relates to Fullmetal Alchemist, and how it relates to our lives.